Who am I? Who are you, God? These are the questions Moses asks in Exodus, and they are the same questions we ask ourselves today. The book of Exodus, the biggest event in the Old Testament, reveals God's answers, revealing His name and nature and who we were created to be. Despite Israel's repeated failures, Yahweh repeatedly follows through on His epic plan of saving Israel and us from destruction, a plan that foreshadows the ultimate rescue through the ultimate Lamb, Jesus Christ, who pays for the freedom and safety of God's people. Join us for our study of the book of Exodus as we identify the gods among us and how they fall short of delivering what we can only find in the one true God. For more information about Doxa's gatherings and ministry, or to support the making of disciples of Jesus in the everyday, go to dxa.ch.
Today we'll be reading out of Exodus chapter 7, verse 1 through 13. And the Lord said to Moses, "See, I have made you like God to Pharaoh, and your brother Aaron shall be your prophet. You shall speak all that I command you, and your brother Aaron shall tell Pharaoh to tell the people of Israel to go out of his land. But I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and though I multiply my signs and wonders in the land of Egypt, Pharaoh will not listen to you. Then I will lay my hand on Egypt and bring my hosts, my people, the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt by great acts of judgment. The Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord when I stretch out my hand against Egypt and bring out the people of Israel from among them." Moses and Aaron did so. They did just as the Lord commanded them. Now Moses was 80 years old and Aaron 83 years old when they spoke to Pharaoh. Then the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "When Pharaoh says to you, 'Prove yourselves by working a miracle,' then you shall say to Aaron, 'Take your staff and cast it down before Pharaoh, that it may become a serpent.'" So Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and did just as the Lord commanded. Aaron cast down his staff before Pharaoh and his servants, and it became a serpent. Then Pharaoh summoned the wise men and the sorcerers, and they, the magicians of Egypt, also did the same by their secret arts. For each man cast down his staff, and they became serpents. But Aaron's staff swallowed up their staffs. Still, Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he would not listen to them, as the Lord had said. This is the word of the Lord. You may be seated.
Well, it's been a week, huh? It's been a week. Everyone feeling all right? You guys are awake. Some of you, a lot of cold showers. Hey, power could be out, trees could be down, frustration could be up, but it's still true that Jesus is still on the throne, and we can always worship that. I think oftentimes in our culture, we get really, frustration and bitterness happens when we start to feel entitled for things we used to be thankful for. And when we become entitled to things that are gifts, that's when we get bitter and frustrated and we start to curse God, curse whoever is in our house. And so today I just want to pray for God's provision over us, that we would see that the white throne is still occupied, that Christ is still king. And on a sort of dreary Thanksgiving week, Sunday, we might actually glorify the King, and there might be the warmth of the fire of the King in our hearts and in our bellies this morning as we prepare for this week ahead, okay? So let me pray for that. We're gonna be in Exodus chapter 7. So if you have a Bible, please turn there and I'm gonna pray. Lord, it's true that the white throne is occupied, that you command your angels concerning us and you guard us. And so pray for that guarding right now, Lord. Pray for our guarding of our hearts and our souls, that we might see you as true and as King. And as we seek to battle the gods among us, would you show yourself to be not only a formidable opponent, but a victorious opponent, a clear victorious opponent in the gods among us in our lives. Would you conquer those things that demand our worship and our time and our effort, and you be that thing, Lord. We love you. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so we get to be in today, week 12 of the first part of our long journey through Exodus. And that brings us to Exodus chapter 7, the beginning of Exodus chapter 7, which leads really into the mighty showdown between Yahweh, who is the one true God, and the gods among Egypt. Now, if you remember, this has been a theme we've been talking about, the gods among us. Now, the gods among Egypt, if you remember, are these little g gods, these sort of false deities, all that men call gods, and they become the objects of people's attention and the objects of people's worship. Now, it's important, just as a little tidbit for Egypt and understand their culture, it's important to understand that false pagan religion was the center of the Egyptian culture. You heard Pastor Tim talk a little about India. I've been to India, many of you have been to India, and you can see the representations, the physical representations of other gods there. Now, those aren't as obvious here, but they are most assuredly here as well. But it was true for Egypt. And these gods were seen as having control over every aspect of living, all of them. So if you wanted to, get something from one of these gods, let's say, each god has a little silo that they tend to, like a little plot of land that they manage. So if you wanted favor from the god of water, or the god of air, or the god of livestock, or the god of vegetation, or maybe the god of electricity this week, you sort of had to exercise extreme devotion and confidence in these gods and do what they say. That was what was required, okay? Now, Pharaoh, of course, in this story, he held supreme confidence, not only in himself, but in the gods among Egypt. They served him well. He was wealthy, status, prestige, sustenance. He had it all, right? He had everything. That's why a few weeks ago, when Moses challenged him to worship God, Yahweh, the one true God, he said this to him: "Who is Lord that I should obey his voice? Why would I, Pharaoh, need to honor and obey Yahweh if my gods are giving me everything I need?" And that's actually a fair question, right? If I've got everything I absolutely need, why do I need God exactly? He's placed his supreme confidence in them. They met his supposed needs. But the question I have for them, the question I have for Pharaoh, and the question I have for you is, what if he's wrong? What if these supposed gods are not giving him all that he truly needed? What if he was getting, everything that felt good to him, everything maybe that he wanted, but not everything that he truly needed? Now, I'll be honest with you, this all sounds pretty primitive to me, right? Like a bunch of weird pharaohs and relics and pyramids and gods with monkey heads and horse heads and snakes and bowing down, wearing weird garb. It's uncomfortable, right? This is super weird. And we would never, being the sophisticated people we are, ever bow down at some weird cyborg animal god thing, right? We'd never do that. We've got AI and Microsoft and TikTok and microwave burritos. We've got a lot of different things these people would never understand. It all seems real primitive, except for the fact that you and I, of course, you knew I was bearing the lead. We do the exact same thing. We worship the gods among us in our culture. Of course, they're just disguised, wearing our cultural context. You would never be able to walk into ancient Egypt and say, well, I'm an atheist, but I just believe in where the science takes me. They'd go, what the heck are you talking about? They'd laugh them out of there, like, get out of here, nerd, loser. You don't know what you're talking about. You come here and you say that, you're sophisticated. You're nuanced, right? The gods among us dress like us. They look, think, feel, and honor the things that we look like and the things that we honor. We do it. And I think many of us are in the same boat here. I'll be honest with you, as Pharaoh. And we probably are asking the same question, and you probably know where I was going. Why do I need to truly honor and obey this God called Yahweh when I'm mostly fine? Even the power goes out a couple days, like, I'm good, really? I've got Catan and a generator. Like, I'm fine, right? I've got mostly everything I need. And even if I don't have the thing, like, if I just worked 10% harder, I could get it. Like, if I just got the next promotion or met the right person, I'd get the thing I probably could have, but I don't really need because I don't have it. I could get anything I need. If I can get my hands on, I can get it, and I can use it, and I can have it, and I can enjoy it. The same question applies to Pharaoh that it applied to you, which is, what if you're wrong? What if maybe you feel really good with all the things you have, but you don't have everything you need? You absolutely need. What if you don't know what you need? Maybe then, what if you're like a sick patient on a deathbed who is intoxicated and medicated, and everything feels good, but eventually everything ends in your passing? Now, I know that's a morbid analogy, but spiritually, the story of the Bible actually is just this: that God is on a mission to tell people that their confidence is in the wrong thing. And that what things feel okay and you mostly have even what you want, you have to have confidence in the right source, because if you have confidence in the wrong source, then you'll just feel okay and then eventually you'll pass. But if you have confidence in the right source, you might have everything your soul deeply longs for. Here leads me to this sort of thesis of our talk today, which is where you place your confidence will determine whether or not you get what you need most. Now, you might have everything you want. You might feel really awesome. You might feel like you're in a good spot. But what you need most won't come to you if your confidence isn't in it, in the right things. This passage shows us through Moses and Aaron and Pharaoh, there are three things that there's really only three things you can have your confidence in. And the question is then, which should you choose? And where do each of the three options lead? That's pretty awesome that this passage would bake all this out for us, because this is important. This is really important because what we need most is what our soul most desires, and perhaps we don't have it. So let's explore these three places we can put our confidence. Let's back up to chapter 6, verse 28, and read the first few verses to give us context on chapter 7. On the day when the Lord spoke to Moses in the land of Egypt, the Lord said to Moses, I am the Lord. Tell Pharaoh, king of Egypt, all that I say to you. But Moses said to the Lord, behold, I am of uncircumcised lips. How will Pharaoh listen to me? Okay, if you were here last week, we backed out of the story of God. We were 35,000 feet explaining the family line from Abraham all the way back into Moses and Aaron. And so now we're sort of piloting back into the story here, and God tells Moses to go encounter Pharaoh to get him to let his people go. Now, Moses here in this passage, he feels unholy, unworthy of such a serious and honorable task of doing this. He's got to be the mouthpiece of God. This is a big deal. And by the way, he's restated his lack of confidence over and over and over and over and over and over again. He's afraid. He doesn't feel worthy. Now, I'll be honest, this word circumcised pops up, and we've spent a few weeks talking about it. It's maybe confusing. I felt like I was actually going to skip this, I'll be honest with you. And then my wife was like, well, you should probably explain that in case someone walks in for the first time and you're talking about circumcision. They're like, that's weird. Like, I'm never coming back. So, and uncircumcised lips, like that's also weird, right? Like, are you cutting people's lips off? Like, what is this weird cult you're in? So I figured, okay, that's fair. Circumcision, the covenant of circumcision, the symbol of circumcision, it was an outward symbol of a covenant faithfulness to God through his promises to Abraham. God promised to Abraham many, many centuries ago that he was going to bless his family line, and that through his family line, the whole nation, the whole world would be blessed. And so circumcision was a sign that you were a part of that covenant and you wanted to participate in that blessing. So if you weren't circumcised, you were essentially unfaithful to the covenant, right? Moses here is saying, I'm unworthy, I'm unfaithful. I don't feel like I am the person that should be bringing these commands. I am not worthy, I'm unfaithful to you because I'm a broken person. I should not be the person that goes and does this. Now, I'll be honest with you, modern hearers like me, I'll just call myself out. I read this from my comfortable couch in 2024, and I think, like, Moses, don't be such a wuss, dude. Like, we've been doing this for chapter. Like, come on. Like, how many times does God need to show himself? You've seen a staff turn into a steak. A steak, that'd be awesome. A snake. I mean, I'm converting then and there. If ribeye shows up, right? Like, I'm doing it. But it wasn't, it was a snake, so I get the apprehension. So he sees it many times. Moses, don't be such a wuss. Have some confidence in yourself, dude. You were made for this moment. Figure this out, let's go. And while, I'll be honest with you, self-pity and self-loathing is not what God's after. That's the wrong approach too. The premise of Moses' idea is actually correct. He is unworthy of this task. Here's the first thing you get to have confidence in yourself. Or confidence in yourself leads to a reality check. Sort of giving myself away here on how I feel about this. But imagine what you would think of Moses if he beat his chest and was like, listen, I got this. This is easy. Like, hand it over. Thanks, Yahweh. I got it from here. You stay here. I'm going to go in. I got this. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger in an action movie. Like, he's charging into battle. Like, I got this. You stay here. You stay safe. I'm going to go handle this. Would you think he was awesome? Or would you think he was on a suicide mission? You would think he was on a suicide mission. And I'll be honest with you, this is the most controversial point of the three. So if you're like, dude, what is this pastor telling me? Like, I'm not supposed to be confident in myself? What about my fourth grade math teacher? They told me, my science teacher in fourth grade said, shoot for the moon. And even if I miss, I land among the stars. Confidence, self-confidence. See that? That's indoctrination. You know that? You guys all knew it. You guys all knew it. You forget the verses in the Bible, but you knew that one, right? Because you've been indoctrinated. Self-confidence is the thing. I mean, self-esteem, our culture loves this, right? This is what it's all about. We are steeped in this idea that if you put your mind to it, you can do whatever you want and all you need to do. Of course, we don't believe in the spiritual metaphysical world, but somehow there's something in you, chemical reactions, that if you believe in those, then somehow you can do whatever you'd like. And it's tempting. We center our whole culture around this. Even churches will do this. And so it's tempting. This isn't a popular thing to tell you, hey, believing in yourself sometimes doesn't lead to the right place. That's not popular. That's why the top 10 Christian book sellings are about you and how awesome you could be. If you took a little of this, sprinkled it on you, you could be awesome. That's what we teach our sermons to be like. Girl, wash your face. It's all on you. We wear the gold Rolex. If you want it, you can have it. Just need a little God. He's your sidekick. He's your buddy. You can do this. Well, I got to be honest. We look at pop culture icons too and feel the same. We look at LeBron James. If you put your mind to it, you could be 6'9" and have a 50-inch vertical and dunk on whoever you want. You just got to be able to do it. Jeff Bezos, $278 billion, that's it. You got this. Put your faith in yourself and go achieve. Now, with all due respect, what we're experiencing here in this passage is not a basketball game. And this isn't even starting a company we're talking about here. We are talking about challenging the greatest and most notorious political entity to ever be on the earth to this point, and telling the leader of this notorious political entity, who's a known genocidal maniac, to give up his main economic engine for free. Not gonna happen. I've read this thing a lot. I know many of you have. There is not a single example of someone having confidence in themselves and it turning out good. Not a single one. I mean, name the story. It's always about placing your trust in something else. Saul, the first ever king of Israel, the guy who's the predecessor to King Jesus one day, he is going to be the person that finally turns it around for Israel. What does he do? He offers a sacrifice he's not supposed to, and he took matters into his own hands. And guess what? He loses the kingship, and his predecessor, David, is going to try to take over for him. Even Moses himself wanders in the desert for 40 years, finally believes in himself, and you know what happens? He disobeys God, and he's not going into the promised land. 40 years in the desert, wasted for him. There's not a single instance of the Bible saying, if you believe in yourself, you can do it. In this instance, guys, Moses is right. The limit on his life is a real thing. We spend so much time in our marketplace jobs and on social media. We spend time trying to break through perceived limits, empower the world for good and for change. There's always more money, always more acumen. There's always more achievement. There's always more relationship. More. Why haven't you had enough yet? What if the limit's real? Some of us, we hit limits in our careers, maybe even in our parenting, and we sink into deep despair. We can't change the outcome. Why? Because the confidence is in your ability to change it. Confidence is in you, and you're failing. Confidence in you leads to two places: arrogance and pride, or self-pity and despair. If your confidence is in yourself, and I know that's true for many of us, okay? It's been true for me. There will come a time, even if you're winning right now, and I know some of you are, that you will realize you're not who you think you are. You're not who you think you are. The world may tell you one thing, your coworkers, your managers, your social media accounts, your classmates may tell you one thing. You're not who you think you are. Man, I tell you what, it's easy to criticize people on the top. The leaders, the athletes, the politicians, the movie stars. But man, you give any of us the same amount of eyeballs and they're gonna see flaws just the same. Because you're not who you think you are. We're limited. But what if we embrace the limits instead of ignored them? What if we embraced that we were limited? What if we were created interdependent and dependent beings instead of independent ones? Moses is right about himself, and Moses is right about us, guys. God begins to do his work at the end of us. The Bible, this is all over the Bible. Paul says, when I'm weak, then I am strong. When I embrace my limits, I come to my end of myself. I see God do magnificent things in my life, magnificent things in the lives of others. When you embrace your limits, God's work begins to flourish. So you can have confidence in yourself, but there's other options. Maybe that's not for you. Let's keep reading. Let's look at verse 8 in chapter 7. Then the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, when Pharaoh says to you, prove yourselves by working a miracle, then you shall say to Aaron, take your staff and cast down before Pharaoh, that it may become a serpent. So Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and did just as the Lord commanded. Aaron cast down his staff before Pharaoh and his servants, and it became a serpent. Then Pharaoh summoned the wise men and the sorcerers, and they, the magicians of Egypt, also did the same by their secret arts. Okay, this passage has got me having questions. Maybe you've got questions too, and I'll just name a few of my questions, and you might identify with them. What kind of miracle could God give to Aaron and Moses that could easily be duplicated by a bunch of pagan magicians? Seems like a fair question. Like, why? Did God just teach Moses, another question, a magic trick? Was it just like merely a magic trick that anybody could repeat if they take enough classes? I mean, another question comes to mind is, were these magicians not performing magic, but were they able to actually do real miracles? Was Satan helping them do these miracles? Or my last question was God so naive to think that some second-rate, low-grade miracle was going to convince the mighty Pharaoh to ruin his plans for slavery and city building? A lot of questions, right? Passages like this. I'll give you a few answers of mine. First, God's sign and wonder was genuine. This is a real thing. God's going to prove it by doing far greater signs and wonders later. This is a baby miracle to get us kicked off, okay? So God's sign was genuine. Pharaoh's magicians, their signs, they were either one of two things. They were either performing deceptive magic, sleight of hand, kind of like your average magic show, right? Right? Like, it's gone sort of thing. Or they were commingling with the dark arts. Or both. Magic show or demonism or a combination. Magic shows are deceptive, right? Actually, I remember when my wife, Sarah, she got to go on stage at a magic show, right? You guys ever heard of Chris Angel, by the way? Some of you old enough? Nobody? Or is it not 2006 anymore? You guys forgotten? We went to this magic show, and he called the most enthusiastic person on stage. She won, and she goes up there, and they perform this trick where they like make this motorcycle appear. And I'm like, this is awesome. Like, my wife was a part of a magic show. Like, this is crazy, right? I know it's like, it's deceptive. It's cool. And she comes off stage, she's like, that sucked. I was like, why? She's like, well, they told me what I needed to do, and it wasn't even magic. They told me to pick a specific one. Like, they had it planned. I'm like, well, yeah, they did. I don't know if that was new information. But that's what magic is. It's sleight of hand. It's like your, card tricks, right? Card counting, all this stuff. Or it could have been commingling with the dark arts. Either way, though, the outcome appears to be at face value the same. There's a snake Aaron and Moses produce, and there's snakes that the magicians produce. Both snakes. Which leads to the question which we've already asked, which is, why is God so special if these other things give us basically the same thing God can give us? I mean, why would we have confidence in God? He produces one thing, other things produce the same. Why wouldn't I just have confidence in those things? Which leads us to the second thing you'd have confidence in. Confidence in the gods among us leads to high highs, but lower lows. I'm giving myself away again. Remember, we're saying, it seems like God tells me he's the only place I could get a snake. Satisfaction, AKA security, fulfillment, pleasure, stability. But all of these other areas seem to be giving me the exact same thing. Why would I worship Jesus if I already have everything basically God could offer me? I mean, if I could get a snake here, why would I get it there? It's a lot easier to get it here. You say there's no gods among us. There are. How about the God of achievement? The God of achievement leaves me with purpose and fulfilling life's task. I don't need fulfillment or purpose. Like, I'm getting it from my work. The God of being liked leaves me with relationship and connection with others, and I'm not abandoned as a result. The God of sexual release, man, it gives me pleasure I seek and a sense of well-being that nothing else can. And the God of money, of course, man, it gives me security, it gives me safety, it gives me control, it gives me some stability, and it gives me a generator when the power goes out. Life's good. Now, I could sit here and tell you guys, like, hey, listen, I know you feel those things, but that's not true, and you need Jesus. And I could do that, and I think that's true. But I don't want to discount, like, what you experience from being at the foot of those gods makes you feel. I know how good it feels for you to achieve great things at your company and to feel elated when you succeed and the bonus comes in. I'm not gonna discount you what it feels like to find the person that you believe is finally gonna make you whole, or to go in and get the clean scan that you've always longed for. I'm not gonna discount how good that makes you feel, because those feelings are real, right? Guys, the snakes look legit. Verse 12, for each man cast down his staff and they became serpents. These are real snakes. There's not paper snakes. These aren't made of rope. It's not even an optical illusion. The snakes are real. The same snake is real as the same that Moses and Aaron produced. The achievement, the elation, the power, the purpose, you feel that. That's a real feeling. But remember, the creators of the snakes, they're not God. They're just magicians. And magicians can't provide real things. They can only use smoke and mirrors to create the illusion of a reality that with your senses, you believe in your heart of hearts is real. That's why we call them tricks, because they're not real. Even though it feels, looks, seems, smells, tastes real. Confidence in the God of achievement gets to the end of the rainbow and realizes there's no pot of gold. You don't get the purpose you sought. The God of achievement tells you need to achieve more and more and more and more and more. The confidence in the God of being liked doesn't give you the state of well-being and being in relationship you thought, because when you don't share the gospel, you get lonely with people because nobody knows who you really are. You're not more connected, you're less connected. And anyone who's ever had the confidence in the God of money will eventually realize, if you haven't already, that money can't actually buy security. It can't buy stability. It can't buy any of those things. Not when the diagnosis hits, or the divorce comes, or the child goes wayward. Money doesn't buy any of that. It buys the illusion of stability and security. All these gods use smoke and mirrors to tell you in your senses that what you're experiencing is real. Friend, I believe you're being deceived. That the job means that you have purpose and meaning. I believe that's true. I believe that you're being deceived that if you just raise your kids right, this will rectify the way your parents raised you. I believe you're deceived that alcohol eases your pain. And I believe you're deceived that full bank accounts means that everything is all right in the world. You see, there is a chief magician, and his name is Satan. Satan is the chief magician, and he's a created demonic being, but get this, he is created, and therefore he can't create himself. Only one entity can create, and that's the creator. And all he can do, Satan, is use smoke and mirrors to deceive us into not needing the one who can give us what we actually need. You know what the worst part is? He does not treat his subjects well. And he doesn't really care that much whether you actually get actual help or actual fulfillment or not. He doesn't care so long as you don't go to the one who will meet your actual needs. So he'll give you all of the fulfillment and joy from the relationship or the job or the whatever, and he'll take it from you, He doesn't care as long as you don't go back to God. He's a magician. You guys probably heard the old saying, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. You've heard that one? He's going to cause you to believe a false God and then crumble that false God before you. And then you will blame the real God for what happens. Pretty good magic trick. He'll give you what you want to keep you from getting what you need. Now, were these actual snakes? Were they real snakes? Were these authentic miracles that the magicians performed? The answer is, well, depends who you are. It doesn't really matter. Not to Pharaoh, because Pharaoh was looking for confirmation bias. He was looking for an easy reason not to believe Yahweh was real. He had everything he needed. And so these magicians produced some things that kind of looked close and it was good enough. My fear, friends, is that your flesh, your sin, is so ingrained in you and it's controlling you and it doesn't want God, so that when cheaper substitutes come across you in your life that produce similar results, you say, good enough. You got what you want, but you didn't get what you needed. Which leads me to our third thing we can have confidence in, verse 12. For each man cast down his staff and they became serpents. But Aaron's staff swallowed up their staffs. Still, Pharaoh's heart was hardened and he would not listen to them as the Lord had said. Okay, so this is kind of a small flex from God right here, right? Like, I'm just gonna have my snake eat theirs. Just a little something. Snakes don't eat snakes, my snake's gonna eat their snakes. Gonna be pretty cool. And like, have you ever seen a snake eat anything? It takes kind of a long time. Somehow, he just gobbled up a bunch of snakes. Like, pretty cool. Why is this in the narrative? Like, it doesn't change Pharaoh's mind. We saw that. It's in the narrative because God is demonstrating subtly to Pharaoh, you can produce all the cheap tricks you want, but in the end, I'm gonna usurp them all. Crazy enough, these things that look like real formidable copies of Yahweh's power, instantly swallowed up by the work of God. No small task, or no big task for God. Pharaoh, of course, still unimpressed, but remember, confirmation bias. He's looking for a reason for this not to be true. Many of you are looking for reasons for this not to be true because you know what it means. You know that it means everything in your life would have to change. Everything you've given your life to would have to come to an end. You may hate or love Jordan Peterson, depending on who you are. Dr. Jordan Peterson is a psychotherapist or clinical psychologist, whatever. Smarter than me. But he was asked one time, just about 6 months ago, do you believe in Jesus' death on the cross and resurrection? And he said, I can't answer that question. Why? Because if I answer it yes, then that means everything has to change. Everywhere I go, every place I go, every person I interact with, everything has to change. And I can't embrace those stakes yet. We look for confirmation bias that something else in the world is true, so we don't have to embrace the fact that Christ died, came in the world, died on the cross, and resurrected, because it means everything about our lives will have to change. And even if you cognitively believe that to be true, and I know that's many of us in here, but you don't affectively believe it to be true, you're still holding back too. Because you would have to die to all the things that you've placed in position of the God among you. Just like Pharaoh. Pharaoh's unimpressed, but remember, the sin in his heart creates this desire for confirmation bias, and he's looking for reasons to not believe. But what's interesting about this is if God wanted him to see his full force, he could have did it right there, couldn't he? I mean, this is a small little miracle. A snake swallowing a snake. I mean, he could have dropped the whole Red Sea on his head in that moment. He's gonna do it later. Why did he wait? What is he doing? Reason? God is more interested in the systematic approach. In the coming chapters we're going to explore after Christmas, God is going to, one at a time, systematically line up each of the gods among Egypt and take them out at the knees one at a time. This is crazy stuff. Each plague represents a god that Egypt worships, and he will present that god to Pharaoh, ask him to recant, and when he doesn't, he will take him out in front of him. Verse 3, chapter 7. But I will harden Pharaoh's heart, God says, and I will multiply my signs and wonders in the land of Egypt. Pharaoh will not listen to you. He already called this. Then I will lay my hand on Egypt and bring my host, my people, the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt by great acts of judgment. The Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord when I stretch out my hand against Egypt and bring out the people of Israel from among them. This is how powerful God is. But he's not doing this just to rub Pharaoh's face in it or show us how great he is or awesome he is. He says, verse 5, so that they know I am the Lord. He is going to demonstrate I am God, not these things, one at a time. So not in general, but over each independent God among you. This is the third thing you have confidence in. Confidence in Yahweh always leads to victory. Always. You're not hedging your bets by believing in Jesus. You're not going, well, this seems the most plausible, so hopefully, like this will be the thing that gets me in. No, this is assured victory. While all these little g gods are offering people what they want, God will give them what they actually need. You see, you want a little achievement. You want a little connection. You want a little love. You want a little belonging, a little friendship. And all of these little g's offer you some semblance of a mirage that gives you these things. But might I submit to you and say that you're not actually after those things. You're after the source of those things. That's why when you get them, it doesn't fulfill you. Who's ever been fulfilled by one of these? Just show me the person that lives their whole life going, that was great. I worked for money. I only worshiped money and it was awesome. So happy to die. I'm going to take all this fortune with me in the afterlife. Who says that? Nobody. This is the whole story of the Bible, guys. That God is on a mission to restore his original intention for the world. That God creates man in his image. And guess what? They had access to him. They had access to the source. They had fulfillment. They had purpose. They had well-being. They had friendship. They had connection. They had it all. And then sin enters the world, separates them from God. Then ever since, you and I, we've been wandering the earth looking for anything because we're made in God's image, anything that looks and feels and tastes like God. And so when you bump up against something that he created, you go, this must be it. Achievement, fulfillment, satisfaction, purpose, love, this is it. You're blindfolded in a room, feeling around for your creator. We don't just want God's stuff, we want God. That's what we're after. The gods among you, though, don't want you to get to God. They're actually really content with your pride and arrogance or your self-pity, self-loathing, or despair. That's where they'd like you to be. They don't want you to be and experience peace that you get from being connected to your maker. And so here's what God's going to do. Just like he does to Pharaoh, he's going to do this to you. He's going to do this to me. He's going to walk into your life. And could he drop the Red Sea on your head? Sure, he could. But he's not going to, if you're lucky. He's going to systematically line up all of the gods among you in your life. Your children being the center of your marriage, your company and your promotions, your wealth, your addiction, your family, whatever it is, he's going to line them all up and he's going to topple them one by one by one by one by one. The question is, will you be worshiping at the foot of that thing when it all comes crumbling down and perish along with it? Or will you turn your face and worship him? And here's like the most bizarre thing out of all of this. Maybe you're hearing me saying, well, I'm not supposed to love my family. No. I'm saying when you place the pressure of a deity on all of those things, they crumble faster. And when you worship God and see them in light of him, you see them not as the objects of your worship, but as gifts from your maker. They become greater and more fulfilling without the pressure of having to be God for you. Will you be at the foot of the thing God is about to topple in your life, or will you stand up and turn your face to your maker? And so it is. Let's pray. Father, thank you for an opportunity to worship at your feet today. Man, with all of the crazy stuff going on, Lord, you stir our souls up, and then you show up with something like this. You are worthy of our worship and our praise, God. You know what? Those words may seem weird or funky to us, depending on who we are, but man, we do the same thing with other things. Lord, would you kill that desire in us? That we might not see our job or our children or our marriage or anything else, our pleasure, our purpose, our comfort as our God, and rather see them as the gifts that you've given us so we can fully enjoy them, but enjoy you more. Lord, would these things, instead of being our objects of worship, point back to you? We love you. Amen.